Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Erica Jordan. I'm the Assistant Vice Chancellor of Alumni Relations for UCI. It's my pleasure to welcome you to our ninth installment of Lunch with Eaters. So Lunch with Eaters, for those of you who are new, it are twice a month virtual lunch and learn series built for alumni and community members and members of the community, excuse me. For those of you who want to keep in touch with us virtually, we welcome you to go to our Eaters Go virtual page for all the resources you can use to stay connected. We have coloring pages, there's quick downloads, other videos, and all of our upcoming events are also listed there. As a housekeeping item, I want to let you know that you are all muted in order to keep all the background noise out, but we encourage you to use the chat function at the bottom of your screen to enter any questions and comments, and I will be helping to facilitate questions throughout the event. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce our two speakers for today, Eli Simon and Julia Lupton. So Eli Simon is a Chancellor's Professor of Acting at UCI and Producing Artist Director of the New Swan Shakespeare Festival. He has directed over 100 plays at theaters across the states and overseas. He has written books on clowning, mass transformation, and public speaking. In 2017, he was named Theater Man of the Year in the Times OC, and New Swan Shakespeare Festival was named Best Playhouse in OC Arts and Entertainment. Julia Lupton is a professor of English and co-director of UCI's New Swan Shakespeare Center. She is the author and co-author of 5 books on Shakespeare and an award-winning teacher. She lectures and runs reading groups in the community and is a former Guggenheim Fellow. Please join me in giving them a huge Anteater welcome. Julia and Eli, I have a couple of questions to get us started so that our audience today can have a better understanding on the New Swan Shakespeare Center. So Eli, I'll start with you. How did the New Swan Shakespeare Festival come to be?
Thanks for that question, and thanks for having us, Erica. We're excited to be here and welcome alums and hopeful New Swan fans, old and new. We started in 2012. That was our first season. We thought that it would just be a wonderful opportunity to have a summer festival here on campus at UC Irvine. And we went about creating a festival that would hopefully reach out to community members on campus and off. We had no idea that we would still be here in 2020, although of course we are virtual right now, but we've enjoyed 7 sold out seasons since 2012, offering 1 tragic play or history play and 1 comedy, running in rotating repertory. Every other night we switch, but we have the same cast of actors for both plays. So this has been our modus operandi. We've really enjoyed being here, and along with the center that is now established, we're really the only UC in the UC system that has an operating festival on campus, as well as a Shakespeare Center for research and teaching.
Well, we're always trailblazing at UCI, aren't we? And I have to say, I have been with UCI for 5 years, and I have loved every single summer that I get to enjoy seeing in that beautiful theater that's behind you in your photo. So Julia, I'm going to turn the next question to you. Eli brought up the center. Can you tell us a little bit more about this actual center and what you do there and how long it's been around?
Yeah, well, the center really grew organically next to the festival as a way of really building the educational, the appreciation, and also the research components of the work that we do in the theater itself. So we provide seminars and talks and Shakespeare Weekend and other kinds of enhancements. We have a Teacher's Day for educators during the summer. And then during the year, we're really devoted to sharing the joy of Shakespeare through the curriculum. We have an online Shakespeare class that features UCI research, but also UCI productions and actors. We have reading groups in the community that are open to all, where we read plays out loud and discuss them. We have symposia and lectures, and we co-sponsor productions that the Claire Trevor is putting on of Shakespeare plays. Shakespeare-inspired dance. So it's been very exciting to be able to really build out this educational and research part of the festival, because that's what makes a festival a festival. It's the drama plus all those opportunities for connecting, including with special audiences like the alumni nights and the roundtable nights, and nights featuring the Orange County School of the Arts. We really love having particular communities identify with the theater and be able to add on for them educational opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that, the Alumni Association itself always has a night every year, and it's a night that people always look forward to. And Eli, maybe you can share a little bit, we'll get a taste of what you guys are doing virtually this year, but can you explain a little bit about what you guys did last year, and maybe even a little bit more about the theater itself? What makes it so special?
Well, sure. You can see the theater behind me. So I would normally ask how many people have been to our theater and look around and see hands raised, but I can't actually see those of you that are joining us, although I feel your presence. So again, thanks for being with us. If you've been in our theater, you know that it's unique. It's a 15-ton mini Elizabethan stage. It seats 135 people full, and we are generally sold out. It comes apart in pieces. So as you're looking at it, you can think of it as wedges of a pie. It just kind of pulls apart, and then we lay the theater flat. We put it on trucks, and we store it in the Claire Trevor School of the Arts in a building that we have over there that's specifically designated for winter months. The theater is it's like owning a boat in a way. It really doesn't. It takes a lot of upkeep, and the weather isn't necessarily kind to it. So we want to keep it out of the rain and the dew. And then when early June rolls around, we roll it back out. We take it on the trucks and set it up so that it looks like it does right behind us there. Last summer, we produced The Merchant of Venice and Two Gentlemen of Verona. It was a wonderful, wonderful run. And the center was, of course, helping to explain these plays, to talk about them in groups. And we did have a trial of Shylock featuring Erwin Chemerinsky and Song Richardson battling it out over whether Shylock was guilty or not of stabbing Antonio and taking his heart. So there are ways in which the center and the festival continue to work together. We're strengthening that right now all the time. And of course, we are now in a place where we can't gather, especially in a small theater like this. So that has led us to our Midsummer Zoom, which was our offering this summer in 2020.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to turn Julia back to you one more time, but I do want to say, Eli, I do hope one day New Swan Theater, the actual theater, is going to be permanent on campus. It's such a beautiful theater. I do hope that we can make that a permanent fixture that never comes down through the years.
We hope so too.
Yeah.
All we have to do is raise a few $1 million and we can make it happen. So
well, there's always some generous person out
there.
Yeah. Julia, tell me a little bit about how you guys decide year over year which plays you choose for the summer productions.
Well, there's always a comedy that's, kind of joyous and inclusive of families and is very fun. And then there is always a more serious play. It might be a tragedy or it might be a tragicomedy. It might be a little bit less famous. It might be a little bit more philosophical. And, we really like having people have an opportunity to experience the range of Shakespeare each summer, the more comic and the more serious, and then over the years to be able to really see a lot of different kinds of plays performed. Yeah. And then of course there's also a concern about number of actors, feasibility of performing the play in our theater, what storytelling is going to be most effective for our audiences. So there's a lot of other questions that come in there. But mainly it's that kind of rhythm between the comic and the serious. And because these plays are performed by the same set of actors, the audience and the actors really get to experience that range and some of the ironies of seeing, you know, the guy who played so-and-so come back in this very different role, and then making those connections and hearing resonances across the Shakespearean plays, because Shakespeare himself is often returning to plot types and character types. So it's really cool.
Yes, I mean, I think the level of talent that you guys are able to have in the cast every year is just outstanding. And it is, I've been able to witness, you know, kind of both. I've been fortunate enough to have the Chancellor's Club maybe have one night and then see CEO Roundtable another night. And so the difference in the plays. And so it is very fascinating how you guys are able to weave and really, you know, make it really fun and playful, not just following the same script that many other Shakespeare festivals might just be spot on with whatever is laid out. You guys really make it fun, and that's going to lead me to our first poll, but also allow me to come off camera and let you two really give a more in-depth discussion around this. So Jessica, if you can pop our first poll up. So we have two questions for you. So we want to know how many of you have attended a production in person before? And our second question is, did you guys all see the Midsummer Night's Zoom this summer? We'll give you about 20 seconds to answer, and then I'll share our results. All right, what do we have for results?
Fascinating.
So it looks like we have a lot of newcomers to our group. So about 68% have not seen the production in person. So this should be a treat to get a little bit deeper understanding, and hopefully encourage you to come out in the future when we are able to get together. And many did not see the Zoom. So I'm sure you guys will share how they might be able to still see the Zoom. So I'm now gonna turn my camera off and turn it over to you, Julia, for the first part of our presentation.
I think Eli is going to talk first. Is that right, Eli?
Sure,
Oh,
absolutely.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Eli.
It's okay, no problem. I'm happy to follow Julia, or I'm happy to lead, but I think I am first in this. So great, I'm going to, again, hello everyone. I'm Eli Simon, the Artistic Director of New Swan Shakespeare Festival, and I'm also a professor of acting in the drama department here at UC Irvine. I'm going to change my background, I think, so that you can get an aerial view of the theater. Here's what it looks like from above. If I move over, this actually was taken from our 2018 production of Midsummer Night's Dream. And that's taken from the top of the library building, which sits just to the left of the theater as you're looking at it. So we couldn't collect our actors together in the same place safely to rehearse this summer. That's really the way it is right now. That's the boat we're all in. We're trying to keep our fingers in and plug the holes of the canoe. But it was an unusual summer for us because, as you've heard, we're usually performing out at the Gateway Plaza from the beginning of June all the way through Labor Day. So we would have just closed last weekend. We decided that we needed to stay connected with our audience and bring them something of our theatrical magic. And I decided to direct, and we decided to produce with the center A Midsummer Night's Zoom. So this, of course, is originally titled A Midsummer Night's Dream, but I changed it to A Midsummer Night's Zoom because, well, it is on Zoom. And I started thinking about how there are certain correlations between the city folk and the oppression that the lovers feel, and the way in which Zoom constrains them into little windows and is very prescriptive in terms of interaction. So the beginning of this play, all of the actors are zooming in from their various apartments, or in the case of the Rulers of Land, from their palace. I think Julia has a clip from the palace later that she can show you. And then when they escape to the forest, if you know the story of Midsummer Night's Zoom, they all head out to the forest, and there are fairies and magical beings there, and magical things happen. The idea in my mind was that they would be released from their Zoom imprisonment. Of course, they really aren't, because they're still on Zoom, but I wanted to try to create the illusion that they were released. And I'm going to show you a couple of ways in which we did that. I have some clips. So first, I wanted to let you know that when we were in the forest, I could choose virtual backgrounds, just like the one that you see behind me, which is the theater. So in this clip coming up, you're going to see the 4 lovers, and they're in 4 parts of the screen. If they click on their video in a perfect sequence, they line up the way that you see them. And then they had to learn where the other actors were located. Of course, they're all alone in their apartments, but they know, for example, that one friend is to the left or to the right or below or above. So I'm going to show that little piece of the lovers' quarrel to you. Bear with me. I'm going to share my screen here. Okay. And then this is a little section of the lovers. Again, they're in 4 panels, and we knew exactly how they would appear.
You speak not as you think. It cannot be.
Lo, she is one of this confederacy. Now I perceive they have conjoined all 3 to fashion this false sport in spite of me. Is all the counsel that we 2 have shared, the sisters' vows, is all forgot? And will you rent our ancient love asunder to join with them in scorning your poor friend? 'Tis not friendly, 'tis not maidenly. Our sex, as well as I, may chide you for it, though I alone do feel the injury.
I am amazed at your passionate words. I scorn you not. It seems that you scorn me.
Have you not set Lysandra, as in scorn, to follow me and praise my eyes and face, and make your other love, Demetrius, who even but now did spurn me with his foot, to call me goddess,
Goddess,
nymph,
nymph,
divine and rare,
divine and rare,
precious celestial?
precious celestial.
Celestial.
Wherefore speaks he this to her he hates? And wherefore doth Lysandra deny your love, so rich within her soul, and tender me forsooth affection, but by your setting on, by your consent?
I understand not what you mean by this.
I do. Persever counterfeit sad looks? Make mouths upon me when I turn my back, wink at each other? Hold the sweet jest up. If you had any pity, grace, or manners, you would not make me such an argument. But fare you well, 'tis partly my own fault, which death or absence soon shall remedy.
All right, so that's the clip there of the 4 lovers. Obviously, they get into a much bigger quarrel and actually get a little bit rough and tumble with each other. But here you can see that they're sharing the same kind of spooky magic forest background. I tried to pick backgrounds that would match up. That actually is the same photo, as you can see, used behind each of them. The actors had to choose these virtual backgrounds before they entered. Obviously, if one of them didn't choose the right background, it would look strange. And then we had to always know that they would, as I said, show up in these quadrants so that they knew exactly where to throw their focus to create the illusion that they were in this forest together. So next, I'm going to bring up a little clip that we have of Oberon and Puck. Oberon is the king of the fairies, and Puck is his fairy servant. And again, you will see here 2 things happening. You're going to see the background lining up. And I picked a photo that had a horizontal line for the forest. And I think it's really cool the way it looks like kind of one piece. We start with Oberon, then he calls Puck, and Puck comes in. Watch how the background lines up. These guys are also using what are called snap camera filters. So what you see on his head here, and the way his eyes light up and his eyebrows again, are come from this app called Snap Camera. And you'll see Puck has some paint on his face as well that's from Snap Camera as well. So they have to control their backgrounds. They have to come in the right sequence so they know who's to the left and who's to the right. And they choose these Snap Camera applications as well. Okay, here we go.
My gentle Puck, appear now. Thou rememberest, we heard a mermaid on a dolphin's back when certain stars shot madly from their spheres to hear the sea maid's music.
I remember.
It was at this time I saw, but thou couldst not, flying between the cold moon and the earth, Cupid, all armed. He loosed his love shaft smartly from his bow, quenched in the faint beam of the watery moon, yet marked I where the bolt of Cupid fell. It fell upon a little western flower, before milk white, now purple with love's wound. And maidens call it love in idleness, the juice of which on sleeping eyelids laid will make or man or woman madly dote upon the next live creature that it sees. Fetch me this herb, and be thou here again ere the Leviathan can swim a league.
I'll put a girdle round about the earth in 40 minutes.
Having once this juice, I'll watch Titania when she is asleep and drop the liquor of it in her eyes. The next thing then she waking looks upon, be it on lion, bear, or wolf, or bull, on meddling monkey, or on busy ape, she shall pursue it with the soul of love.
All right, so here you can really see the effect of that snap filter. I kind of love this one and how crazy his eyes look. You can see the snap filter kind of following his head movements as he moves. This is how we were creating illusion and magic as we could, as best we could, on Zoom. And I will say that these are really the early days of Zoom theater, I think. I think Zoom's going to improve all of their applications. So probably when we look back at this, it'll be like looking back at computers when they were giant boxes sitting on our desk and not the slim versions that they are now. It almost felt like rubbing sticks together to make a fire, but I felt like we were fairly successful with this. And I want to show you one more clip, which is Bottom and Titania. Now Bottom becomes entranced in the forest and becomes a donkey. So there were about 3 donkey heads we could choose from, and this is the one we chose. He is talking with his new lover, Titania, who's been entranced. When she wakes up, she's going to fall in love with the first being that she sees, and of course, it's the donkey, which delights the fairy world. And so you can see a couple more backgrounds, you can see a couple more snap filters, and the actors working really hard to make sense of their lines. So let me expand this a little bit, and then I'll play this for you.
I see their knavery. This is to make an ass of me, to fright me if they could. But I will not stir from this place, do what they will. I will walk up and down here, and I shall sing, that they shall hear that I am not afraid. The finch, the sparrow, and the lark, the plain song cuckoo gray.
What angel wakes me from my flowery bed
whose noteful many amendeth mark, and dares not answer nay.
I pray thee, gentle mortal, sing again. My ear is much enamored of thy note, so is mine eye enthralled to thy shape. And thy fair virtue's force, perforce, doth move me on first view to say, swear, I love thee.
Methinks, mistress, you should have little reason for that. And yet, to say the truth, reason and love keep little company together nowadays. The more the pity that some honest neighbors will not make them friends. Nay, I can gleek upon occasion.
All right, so one of the cool things about this donkey head is that as the actor, Greg Unger, moves his mouth, so move the lips of the donkey. And you can see his eyes are kind of closed here. When he blinks, the eyes close. So we were crazy for this mask. And I loved Titania's mask as well because it's so ethereal and of the fairy world with all of the butterflies, and it really seemed to enhance her eyes. So this is a little taste of what we did with Midsummer Night's Zoom. I'm going to stop share. There we go. And we'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have after Julia finishes her presentation. So I think at this juncture, I'll turn it over to my esteemed colleague, Professor Julia Lupton, and I will disappear, and Julia will talk you through a little bit about what we did with Midsummer and what some of the meanings and contexts were for this particular production.
Thank you, Eli. That was really great. I never get tired of seeing these clips and remembering the excitement of the rehearsal process, which was really a learning experience for all of us, a tremendous sense of challenge as we struggled with the technology, but also real discoveries and extraordinary gains. And certainly one of those gains has to do with access, because people from all over the state and the country and even the world ended up being able to tune in to our premieres of the play, including alumni. We had an econ alum living in Kentucky who just zotted his way through the live chats the 2 nights that he came. And the actors were also logging in from different parts of the country. And we had folks watching from Canada, New Zealand, and Italy, as well as many states. And now the production is available online, so it's continuing to enjoy an impact and be something that we can use for outreach and teaching and for dialogue with other theater makers who are experimenting with this medium. But for me as an English professor, the question is always, does a particular production wake up the play in a new way? Does it bring out new meanings? Does it change our relationship to the themes or to the characters? And so there's 2 ways I want to answer that question today with you. One of them is thematic, and then one of them will just dive into some characters that I think are reframed in a refreshing way by Eli's production. So thematically, I mean, this is a technologically driven production, and what it brings forward is the fact that A Midsummer Night's Dream is already engaging with themes of technology, of world building, of science, and of magic, of the cosmos. The fairies are invisible forces who are messing with the young people's emotions and their beliefs, kind of like social media and the internet today. The fairies are also like producers of some weird reality TV show. Imagine that the 4 young lovers are set loose in a haunted forest, and we have to figure out whether they'll find the correct partners and win valuable prizes by the end of their sojourn there. Midsummer Night's Dream is also like a video game, right? Where our workaday boring computers suddenly become portals to a strange world that follows its own logic, its own rules of behavior, and which also connects us to mysterious strangers from around the world. None of these technology themes are explicit in the production, but by viewing it on Zoom, we're really asked, we're invited to think more deeply about the world building and science magic interface that Shakespeare himself was interested in when he composed this play in 1596. So what about characters? Do we approach these characters in a fresh way as a result of A Midsummer Night's Zoom? Absolutely. I'm going to focus in on one example, which has to do with the relationship between Theseus, who is the Duke of Athens, and Hippolyta, who is Queen of the Amazons. And before the play begins, Theseus has conquered Hippolyta in a bloody war, and now he wants to marry her. Well, he's more into it than she is, and part of the function of the play that occurs in the middle involving the four young lovers is to get the Theseus and Hippolyta, as well as us, into the mood for a royal wedding. And so it begins and ends with Theseus and Hippolyta framing our experience of the drama. And in Shakespeare's text, Theseus gets way more lines than Hippolyta. He's really driving the marriage, driving the conversation. Well, what does Eli do? He shares some of those lines out so that Hippolyta has more to say. That makes it more interesting. You don't want super long monologues on Zoom, but it also changes our sense of the relationship, that they're really building this together. They're having a conversation. They were more equally matched in that war, and now they're beginning to build a marriage together. So could we see the opening of A Midsummer Night's Zoom?
Now, fair Hippolyta, our nuptial hour draws on apace. 4 happy days bring in another moon. Oh, methinks how slow this old moon wanes. She lingers my desire.
4 days will quickly steep themselves in night. 4 nights will quickly dream away the time, and then the moon, like to a silver bow now bent in heaven, shall behold the night of our solemnities.
Oh, then we shall stir up the local youth to merriments on Zoom. Awake the pert and nimble spirit of mirth on Zoom. Turn melancholy forth to funerals
on Zoom.
The pale companion is not for our pomp.
Theseus, you wooed me with thy sword and won my love doing me injuries, but I will wed thee in another key, with pomp, with triumph, and with reveling.
Isn't that fabulous? I just love the energy there in the dialogue. And of course, the references to Zoom really established the concept of the play right at the beginning. So we basically don't see these characters again until the end of the play. And Theseus is the more cool-headed and rational speaker who is less likely to believe the fairy tales that the young lovers recount. And Hippolyta is more open to other realities. She's more sensitive, more romantic, more artistic. And Theseus gives a very long speech on the imagination, which English professors like me love, because we really see Shakespeare working out his own theory of the imagination in these lines. And Theseus's argument is that the imagination is not to be trusted. But as the passage develops, we can kind of hear Shakespeare articulating a more positive philosophy of the imagination. And when I teach this with my undergraduates, I get the students to pull out Theseus's argument versus what Shakespeare seems to be formulating on his own as a dramatic poet and as the author of the work. Well, what does Eli do? Something really brilliant in my view, which is he separates out the speech so that both Theseus and Hippolyta share the lines. Theseus gets the more rational lines, and Hippolyta gets really to be Shakespeare's spokesperson as she articulates that more positive theory of the imagination. So that just makes so much philosophical sense. it also makes emotional sense because these two are getting ready to be married. And we have a real sense here of a dialogue rather than a monologue. They're building something together through conversation and debate. I just love this. So let us see the second clip together from Act 5 of A Midsummer Night's Zoom.
Strange, my Theseus, that these lovers speak of.
More strange than true. I never may believe these antique fables nor these fairy toys. The lovers and madmen have such shaping brains, such seething fantasies that apprehend more than cool reason ever comprehends. The lover, the lunatic, and the poet are of imagination all compact.
One sees more devils than vast hell can hold. That is the madman. The lover, all is frantic, sees Helen's beauty in a brow of Egypt. The poet's eye, in a fine frenzy rolling, doth glance from heaven to earth, from earth to heaven, and as imagination bodies forth the forms of things unknown, the poet's pen turns them to shapes and gives them airy nothing to a local habitation and a name.
Such tricks have strong imagination that if it would but apprehend some joy, it comprehends some bringer of that joy.
But all the story of the night told over, and all their minds transfigured so together, more witnesseth than fancy's images, and grows to something of great constancy, but so however strange and admirable.
So I just love the energy there. I love the interplay. And it's really changed how I think about the speech. So when I'm going to be teaching Midsummer Night's Dream in just a month to 900 freshmen, and I'll get to use that clip and have students compare Shakespeare's original monologue with this dialogic, dramatic, beautiful interpretation that we've gotten in this production. So those are my comments for now. I know you guys have questions, and I want to bring Eli back. I think Erica might be coming back too.
So I guess I'm gonna, Eli, thank you for answering some of the questions in the chat already. In case people have not, didn't have a chance to read the chat, one of the questions asked if you provided a green screen to all of the actors. And so maybe you can answer that a little bit more, but maybe even share, how did you guys coach, these actors from home? And, it seems like it was so much detail. They were so expressive. Maybe talk a little bit about that.
Sure. We did provide green screens for everyone because they really help with the backgrounds. That said, there's no way to perfect anything on Zoom. You will get wrinkles in the background. Sometimes the background, the green screen will get pulled over and you see a little piece of wall behind it. And it's a limit. It's a platform of limitations. The first being that we're in a screen. The second being that you're only as reliable as your bandwidth. And each actor had a different Wi-Fi system. And some nights they'd be just fine, and other nights they'd be completely out of sync. So that was a little challenging, I would say, and just something that we had to move forward and give it our best effort. Really, that's all we could do. But it is the platform is technological, and one of the things I love about live theater. I mean, there is technology in live theater. There's lights, there's sound, and there's scenery. Sometimes the scenery is moving on machines, not in our theater, but it's live. It's a live experience, and you're sitting there with actors that are breathing the same air as you and in the same space. In a way, it's much more controllable than the experience that I just had trying to direct on Zoom. This was maybe one of the most challenging projects I've ever undertaken.
Awesome. But Julia, tell me how, if are the actors all students? And if not, just kind of explain how you guys cast for your shows every year.
Well, the actors are either current MFAs or they're alumni of our program, Our MFA program is geared towards training professional actors. And this is a summer festival, so it's largely self-supporting. So it's both connected and independent from UCI in that sense, different from the seasons during the year. And we're just love getting to engage our alumni and our current students in doing Shakespearean drama. Quite a few of these actors have been in multiple productions. They've worked with Eli, they've worked with each other, both at the New Swan and perhaps in coursework. So there's a really nice company quality to the work that the actors do together. We also, in this production, had Professor Richard Brestoff, who teaches film and television acting to the MFA students. And he played Aegeus, who is the father of one of the young lovers. And it was great having Richard as part of the cast as well this year.
Well, I love that you're keeping the alumni engaged through this process. That's, makes my heart pitter patter. We do have another question. The question is, have you noticed a difference in performances on Zoom via stage and TV and film? Is it better to look at the camera usually?
Well, my thought about Zoom, and this is my thought, I feel like we were able to put together a fairly successful production. People seem to really like it. At least those that didn't like it didn't tell me. So I never really know, but I don't think that it's the same as film and television, really, although there are some similarities. You're working alone. A lot of times in film and in TV as well, you have to pretend that there's a partner in front of you, but you're looking at a tennis ball or a mark on the wall, and that's exactly how these actors work. So this was really actually pretty good preparation for that medium. I think that they brought their theater skills to bear, and the fact that they had done this play, most of them, all but I think 3 or 4 of them were in our 2018 production. So they really understood what was going on. We didn't have to spend a whole lot of time figuring the script out. We just had to modify it somewhat. And certain things that I was telling them was not to yell, not to get too loud, because when you do that, your voice kind of freezes up and you get out of sync with your image. So they had to kind of pull everything down a little bit, still feel as deeply as they would feel, but pull their emotions and especially just their vocality had to come down a little bit to just match the size of this space, which is just really is much smaller than the theater. I think.
Go ahead.
No. My feeling is that Zoom, it's not nearly what a live theater experience is, for me anyway, but a lot of our audience really liked being able to see the actors close up. So there's 2 sides of every coin, right? It's intimate in a different way. And I saw that there was a question about whether to look at the camera as I'm doing now or down where your faces are, or to the side or not. It would just depend. In Shakespeare, we have asides. Asides are usually when a character is trying to figure something out, and they try to work it out with the audience. So in Zoom, you can be quite quiet, really, and intimate, and look right in that camera and work things out, and you'll feel like I'm talking to you right now. Whereas, of course, if I look away, it's more to my scene partner. These are all decisions to make as you're working. If you ever get to do a Zoom show, you kind of figure it out as you go.
Well, it actually is a great lead into one of the next questions. We have an attendee, Michael, who says he's about to embark on his first directorial Zoom production. So what lessons did you learn regarding directing for Zoom? What surprised you or challenged you? So I will actually open it to both of you, because I'm sure both of you had unique experiences in terms of what you learned and what you might suggest as advice.
I just want to mention, I posted to the chat a video that we made kind of about this, the conversation that we held for Shakespeare Weekend with the actors and Eli, talking about the process. So that's a great place to see more into that. But Eli, do you want to talk about the process?
we had a whole different plan in mind when we started. We were going to use a system called OBS that could arrange the windows for us and put backgrounds around the windows. And it turned out that we had so many actors in the play that OBS basically blew up and it didn't work. So on that night, which was our first night of rehearsal, we switched over to Zoom because we know our way around Zoom, having done many classes on it, many meetings. And what we found was that, I think I described this before, as the actors appear, they become arranged in a certain fashion from top to bottom, left to right. So you can actually play scenes to each other or have the illusion of that. It's really tricky because the actors feel more isolated than ever in a certain way because they're not even leaving their houses. So when you go to the theater, you undergo a kind of transformation going to the theater, just to be in a different space, to visit the dressing room and to walk into the theater. But then when you're just sitting in your bedroom or your living room and having to perform, you don't really get that grace period of dropping into character. So that, I think, is tricky. I would say a good warm-up is really necessary, and whatever it takes to feel as though you're really on stage, even though you're not. Those are and Zoom says that they're coming up with better applications. So far, they're not ready yet, as far as I know, and we don't know how well they're going to work. All improvements probably also come with complications. And the more moving parts can break. But I'd say that my best advice, Michael, is to just take a lot of patience pills. And if you're a drinker, don't drink more. Just try not to rip out whatever hair you have, and just be patient because it will try you. You think everything is working, and then the Wi-Fi doesn't work, or the computer doesn't work, or the microphone. But that's just part and parcel for it.
There's so much growth. So I was really pleased that our cast of actors now have been in a Zoom production, which for many of them was their first. And now this is something they can say they can do. They can participate in or even help organize Zoom activities. So the sense that we're like at this new frontier and that we're instilling the actors as well as ourselves with these new tools, and in the process kind of stretching Zoom as well, and then documenting the process with their videos and with conversations like this. I find all that very exciting.
Great. So I'm going to do 2 more questions before we run out of time. One question says that Zoom, as this is from Alone and Gary, he says Zoom could also feel very claustrophobic. So did you ask your actors to imagine their scenes and actions more than they might have in a live production? And the other question is, are you thinking about doing a Zoom production in summer of 2021 now that you've had this experience?
Well, yes, to answer the first question, absolutely the actors have to bring their imagination to the forefront of their work. And they talk about that in our talkback sessions. They don't have scene partners in their spaces with them. They must imagine that those partners are there with them, that they are in the forest, although they're looking into their computer and maybe sitting at their desk. But actors, we train actors to have heightened senses of imagination and play. That's what we really do in theater training. So it's really good exercise for them. They have to be able to do this, and particularly if they want to work in film and TV, where there may not be all the things in front of them that we see. They might have green screens behind them. So yes, that all came into play. I think we don't know. I'll jump into this. Maybe you want to jump in too, Julia, but we don't know what next summer will bring yet. Nobody really does. Our hope is to be back in our theater. That's, it's such a magical, special space, and we really miss it. I feel like the theater itself is one of the things that really distinguishes New Swan from a lot of other Shakespeare festivals. It's a very special and magical theater, but we just have to wait and see what a vaccine might bring, what will happen with this terrible pandemic that's affecting us right now. And we're going to have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C for next summer. So we have contingency plans in place, but our plan A is to go back in and produce in 2021 what we were planning to produce this past summer. And we've offered all of the actors and designers and stage managers and crew their positions, their jobs back for next summer if we're able to do it.
That's amazing. That's so amazing. And, you know, I want to express, you know, my heartfelt appreciation for you guys taking time out of your day to join us on this conversation. You know, again, this is a jewel, a gem that UCI has. And, you know, I'm going to read a comment. We have an alum, Scott Davis, who put in the chat that he didn't have a question, but he wanted to express his appreciation for the series, and especially the episode featuring his favorite teacher, Julia Lupton. He was in her Shakespeare class and Once Upon a Time, and that it continues to influence him today. And I think, you know, I applaud you both for all the hard work you've put into all these years, because, you know, art and humanities and theater does stretch far beyond the experiences that we all have with, you know, seeing your plays and the work you do. It does affect us in many ways in our lives. And so much gratitude from, you know, our office, but also all the alums on the chat today. Thank you. I think we have one more poll coming up. And as we have that poll, I want to share with everyone that our next Lunch with Eaters is taking place on Friday, September 25th from 12 to 1. This one will be on financial freedom featuring Karen Lomas. We will, if you have any additional questions that do not get answered today, what we'll do is we'll send them to Eli and Julia, and we'll make sure that they get answered in our thank you email. In that email, we'll also include the links that they have both put into chat, so you're able to have that and continue to stay connected. I think someone asked about the overall ability to know what the drama department is doing, and we'll be on Zoom. We'll make sure that gets included in the answer. So I appreciate you guys all so much for attending today. If there's anything else we can do, please email us at alumni.uci.edu, and we will see you on the next episode. Thank you again, Julia and Eli. Have a good day.
Bye-bye. Thank you.